Scott, yesterday was one of those days where I worked from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. with no breaks. I
Hmm.
didn't I didn't pee until, 1 p.m. Took the dogs out for 5 minutes. That was it. Otherwise, I was working the whole time and still had a
Right.
few more hours of phone calls afterwards. So, you know those days. Everybody has those days.
A
They're
few more
crazy.
hours. Like more than two?
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh.
So I didn't come home until 8. So,
Hmm.
it was a long, long day.
Wow.
And it was long because we were fully booked. And then on us, as happens on a Saturday, people are like, oh my gosh, my animal's sick. It needs to be seen today. And so all of our urgent care spots were filled up.
Hmm.
And halfway through the day, Ginger, the super tech, comes up to me and is like, Mrs. Allen called and Lucky is not doing well. Can we fit her in? And or does she need to go to urgent care? And I know this cat very well. I know this owner
Hmm.
very well. And everything in me was screaming, no, 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 we shouldn't do this. But I also knew I had a little bit of extra time and I could squeeze that cat in. And of course, I did. And I was thinking, like, why did I do that for her? And I might not have for somebody else.
Exactly.
And there are a lot of reasons for it, but that's what we're going to talk about today, like how to be the person that gets squeezed in on a crazy day. Welcome to the Vets Unleashed.
Where we gather animal professionals and animal enthusiasts to discuss the most pressing, silly, and interesting topics in the animal kingdom. I'm Dr. Scott.
And I'm Dr. Mike. Yeah, today we're talking about, don't be a jerk and try to get squeezed in on those busy days. And if we say no, don't be mad about it. But, you know, why did Lucky Allen get squeezed in? That's what we're talking about.
Yeah, I think we all do that. There are certain clients where I would stay. I would even come in after hours just to see their animals, just to give them the reassurance because we have that strong relationship. We've worked
Hmm.
together, we trust each other, and we're invested in their animals' health as much as they are.
For sure. And I think a huge part of it is that she was willing to go to another urgent care or to the emergency if she had to. She wasn't demanding to be seen. She was asking very
Hmm.
politely if she
Right.
could be seen. And when I got on the phone with her, she was like, "Oh my gosh, Dr. Mike, thank you so much." And the truth is, it was easy for me because I knew the case. I knew what was going
Hmm.
on. I knew what needed to be done. I was pretty sure I could handle that in a short period of time as an outpatient.
So it sounds like one of the first things to do to be your vet's favorite client would be to be reasonable and to understand that, if they do say no or if they send you to ER, that that's in your pet's best interest.
Yeah, for sure. There were some others that we had sent away earlier in the day, and it wasn't because we didn't like them. It was because at that point, we still had 10 things on the board
Right.
and we didn't know if we were going to have time to see them.
Right.
And so in that case, maybe they would have come to see us and I would have been like, nope, needs to go to emergency because I can't handle
Right.
it needs to be hospitalized or whatever. Now you have to pay for the appointment for me here and
Right.
the emergency appointment on top of it. So
Yes.
sometimes we're like, we're just trying to save you money.
Yeah. I can tell you the number of times where a general practitioner saw an animal and then referred to our
Hmm.
ER, and people were mad with us. Like, why do I have to pay an emergency exam fee when when I just paid for my doctor? And it's
Hmm.
like, well, we're separate businesses. I don't know what to tell you, but,
Yeah.
and there was some, that was a larger hospital network, the last job I had. If you were within the system, you didn't have to pay as large of a fee for that
Oh, I
same
get you.
initial exam. But again, it's
Good.
just it's clients. I always appreciate when clients are reasonable, and then
Hmm.
when they're thankful when you help them, even if that help comes in terms of
Yeah.
sending them to someone else because you're too busy to properly care for that animal in that day.
Yeah. I mean, I think number one, I'd say respectful of the business.
Mm-hmm.
right? Realizing in that case that it's a business. We do have
Hmm.
to make money, so yes, we have to charge for those things. You can't see things for free.
Right.
Otherwise,
And
we can
usually,
continue to do it.
usually
So
most veterinarians are doing that for other people as well. So whether it's a corporate group or
yeah,
just a private owner, like in
hmm
your case, the reality is that,
yeah,
that's another being reasonable is knowing that the prices aren't necessarily set by your veterinarian.
yeah. And we do everything we can to try and help too. I mean, how many times have you, if you were ever in general practice, seen something and been like, I'm going to look at this for 2 seconds and then send them out the door to emergency as just a triage and not really, I've done it where I've
Yeah.
not charged
Oh,
them
sure.
or be like, we'll figure it out later. Those kinds of things happen all the time too.
Exactly. You're going to have a really large bill. This is a bloat. I don't need to make,
Hmm
a little extra money to see you to tell you that we're not the hospital to help you right at this moment. You need to go immediately. Get a surgeon or
Yeah,
an experienced CR
exactly.
doctor. Yep.
Yeah, yeah. People
Hmm.
are pretty shocked about that. So, what we glossed over is the drink.
Oh, we did. Look at us. That's because it's a Sunday morning, and as much as like, look at this beautiful. It's called the Old Friend, and it's a take on a Negroni.
Yeah,
Um,
with bourbon
oh,
and
look at our
and
colors match this time.
pretty pretty close. I didn't do too bad this time.
Well,
Every
cheers.
time, cheers. The old friend. Mm.
It's really good. I mean, it's very
Oh
bitter.
man,
It's got that Campari and the sweetness of the orange and the
the
dry
bourbon.
vermouth. Yeah,
Actually,
it's
I like that a lot, and
I do
I
too.
did not think I would. That's right up there. That's a very easy. Just
Yeah. What I like about Negronis, they're great with appetizers. They're great with like little munchy
hmm
things, and you're not going to
hmm
swig that. Little sips because it's so
Oh,
so much flavor.
yeah,
Yeah.
it is, and it's perfect for a Sunday morning cocktail. That's what you want to have. That's what you want to have early on
Yes.
a Sunday morning. Yeah.
It is good. I probably will not polish that off on this fine Sunday morning, but
Well, and it's the old friend. We wanted to put that in there because you'd think like, oh, just to be you know, your vet's favorite client is to be their good friend. And that is not always true.
it's not. No,
Yeah.
but occasionally you do make really good friends.
hmm
Sometimes even life partners. you know, in your practices. Um, Not me. No, no,
yes. We,
no judgment there, of course.
yeah. No judgment. That is not a way I recommend trying to say thank you. Hey, you want to move in with me? Well, let me ask you this. This was something I was thinking about. So it's not always just who's a good friend or not. Um,
No.
I wondered, are there um, clients that you loved whose pets were very, let's say, difficult? Can you think of those?
Oh, yes, I can definitely. I remember not one of my favorite breeds. I remember a young woman who had a Shar
Mm.
that had idiopathic Shar fever and
hmm
the mucinosis
Yeah.
that they get. And so this dog would come in with like 105,
Yeah.
106 fevers, and it was awful. I mean, I have memories of this. This was back in the day, my first job, that the ER clinic, we weren't allowed to refer to them, if you can remember those days. So we took our own calls all through the night. And I have horrible memories of holding this dog as it's trying to attack me. And at the same time, the poor thing is really, really sick. So it would be spinning around on the leash and throwing diarrhea everywhere. And then
Oh.
after we would treat the dog and she would leave, I would have to spend about 2 hours cleaning, diarrhea off the walls
Oh
and
my
the
God.
floors. But she knew her dog was difficult.
Yeah.
She was so grateful that we had diagnosed, these conditions and that we knew how to treat them. And towards the end, we were actually able to prevent most of the outbreaks as well. And so So while I dreaded seeing that dog coming in, I knew that it needed me, and I knew that she was always so grateful. She worked at a brewery, and she would bring our
Nice.
staff like cases of
Oh,
you know,
that's nice.
cases of beer. It's also, I mentioned this dog once before. She had a couple dogs, and she had another dog that was on clomipramine for
Mhm.
separation anxiety,
Yeah.
and she brought me all the new releases from the brewery to
Oh,
thank me for she's and that was it. She said, "I know my dog is really difficult. I know you don't see the dog that I see at home when we're
wow.
here, um, but I so appreciate that you're always patient and calm, and I know that that's not easy. When I
Yeah.
leave,
Yeah.
you're still there cleaning up." So she
Yeah.
was she was very grateful, and in the end, the dog was suffering. Of course, we're going to
Yeah.
help that dog,
Yeah.
and yeah.
I
So
always
did
feel
not love
bad.
the dog.
Yeah, I always feel bad for those dogs that are like so worked up that they're just literally losing it out of both ends.
Yep.
Had one of those yesterday. That was part of what made my day really long yesterday, as I had one that, you know, I've been working with this dog for years and we're
Hmm.
finally getting better. But it's also one of those dogs when it decides to go, it's not giving you warning bites. It's
Yep.
trying to bite. It's one of the few dogs I've been bitten by in my career.
Yep.
And so I do not take chances with it. And the owner is the nicest guy. He's very thankful that we're able to
Hmm.
help his dog.
Yeah.
Um, and whatever we need to do, he's willing to do it. He's willing to help. He's very, again, reasonable and understanding about our time and our safety. And he trusts our judgment. I think all of that makes me feel, valued. It makes me want to get up and go to work in the morning.
Hmm.
Those are the
For
ones
sure.
that make it worth it.
Yep. Even though they are the most frustrating. But there again, it's such a fine line if you have because there's so much that we can do now with reducing stress
Yeah.
and anxiety in a
Hmm.
clinical setting.
Yep.
But it does require that owners trust us and
Yeah.
maybe delay treatment a little bit so that we can get that dog or cat in a
Hmm.
place where treatment and diagnostics are more comfortable for them.
Yeah.
But that takes a partnership. So I feel
Yeah.
like, really my favorite clients are the ones that I work well with, even if they're not
Yeah.
my best friends or my favorite people.
Yeah.
The ones that just know we're here for the same reason. It's for this dog or
Yeah.
cat or rabbit or whatever, whatever it is we're seeing.
Yeah.
And we both know that we're aligned to do the very best for that patient.
Yeah. That's right. I mean, they're easy to work with. That's a great way to say it, that
Hmm.
and it's working with them too. It's not me just telling them this is how we're going to do it. It's a discussion every time with
Hmm.
those people of like, "Hey, what did we do last time that worked? How did that go afterwards?" And like this dog I had last time, the time before, it seemed to go great. I think we got it figured out. And the owner was bringing the dog home and it was still a little bit out of it, bit the owner's hand.
Oh yeah.
Not a good experience. That was a
Yeah.
failure. Big time
Yeah.
failure in my opinion. He was like, "I get it. It was, that's what happens." He tried to play it off, of course, because he's in,
Right.
the dog is the nicest. This dog goes to daycare and hangs out with other dogs. It's just when we're trying to stick it with needles, which I get, right? Like
Hmm.
if I didn't know what was happening and once a year you took me to some place and they started jabbing needles into me, I might be a little upset about it
Exactly.
too. Yeah. So the one yesterday, it took us about an hour and a half to get that dog vaccines and an exam, and then it stayed for the rest of the day, and it did awesome. So
Good.
worked great. So we had a really good time. But he's willing to work with me and understanding about his dog.
Yeah. Well, why don't we take a break? And when we
Yeah,
come back, we'll continue to talk about are you your vet's favorite client?
yeah. Hi, this is Dr. Mike, the Bowtie Vet Guy. Thanks for tuning in to The Vets Unleashed. If you want to find out more about us or our guests or to leave an amazing review, head on over to thevetsunleashed.com or find us on Instagram or Facebook at The Vets Unleashed. There you'll find information on the podcast, how to be a guest, and our lecture series and speaking availability. Now let's get back to the show.
And we are back talking about am I my vet's favorite client? So I love this topic
I do.
because we certainly have a lot of favorite clients over the years.
Yeah, for sure. And I was thinking about very specific things that I see people do that I really love
Hmm.
in the exam room. The first one is having notes, like having their questions written down and then
Yes.
taking notes afterwards.
Hmm.
So like I loved that so much I love that now whenever I go to my doctor, I have little index cards and I have little questions written on them and I can write the answers. Because even I go to
Yep.
my doctor and I have all those questions and I come back and Lisa's like, "What did he say about your tremor?" "Oh, I forgot to ask about that." Like, or
Right.
"Are you gonna get your sleep checked?" "Oh, yeah, I guess I am." So, so it's really helpful not to have to answer the same question four
Yeah.
times.
When so you like when they come prepared. What if half of those cards have, quotes from Google about how raw diets cured their allergies, or um, you
Yeah,
know,
I love it.
insert miscellaneous snake oil here.
Actually, I love that. I
Hmm.
really do. A lot of vets do not like that. To me, I love talking about like why there's a grain of truth in that and where are the studies and let me tell you about this study that I read. And I can see people's eyes roll back in their head like, oh God, I asked the wrong question
Yeah.
to the wrong person. Well, actually, if you notice in Star Trek, it was not. That's me. So if you come to me with questions like that, I'm going to get behind by an hour because I'm going to tell you all the studies.
Exactly. Yeah.
So I actually do. I don't mind those the Google questions. And most of the
Yeah.
time when people ask me about it, they're like, "So I read this on Google," and they're a little bit shy about it. And I'm like, "Okay, what kind of cancer did Google say you have?" Because
Exactly.
that's what it is every time.
Although, let's keep in mind, we did that. We had some of our good clients who were not veterinarians, and we challenged them to look up symptoms and or clinical signs,
Yeah.
and they did pretty well with Google. So maybe the whole AI thing is a nice adjunct to what we already have. Maybe it's getting better. Maybe it's learning and getting better, and hopefully the days of Googling until you find what you believe, rather than what the truth actually is. Maybe those days are slowly,
Yeah.
you know, over.
Yeah. I think the other thing that I really love when people do is when they ask about me or how I'm doing. In other words,
Yeah.
when they see me as a person and not just, it's not just a business transaction. I'm trying to connect with them on a human
Right.
level.
I love that. When they want to get to know you a
Yeah.
little better because you're their vet.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I agree. And when I think back, it's rare. I can think of the times where people said, like, I remember there was an NPR program about veterinarians and about the high suicide
Hmm.
rates, and some really, it was a pretty stark article, and a lot of the general public
Hmm.
saw it back probably in 2019. And I just remember
I
one of
remember.
the clients in the ER saying to me, I just saw this on NPR, and are you okay?
Mhm.
Um, Such a rare thing.
Oh,
I mean, and that was in an
yeah.
ER, which I think happens even less. But I mean, talk about being
Even
my
less.
favorite probably for the week or the month. I was doing okay, but just the fact that they thought
Yeah.
enough to ask, rather than, you know, um, sort of that attitude like, you work for me, I'm here, I'm paying the money, take care of my animal.
Yeah.
That, I mean, what can show that it's a partnership more than just saying, "Are you all right? I read about how hard it is to be a vet these days, and I'm just checking in."
I remember that same article coming out, and one of my good friends from years ago called me up, and I had put his dog to sleep, who was actually a dog I loved very much. And he called me up, and he's like, "I heard about this," and he's like, I mean, this must be 20 years later, and he's like, "I never thought about how hard that was must have been for you. I was just so, and I'm sorry, I didn't think of that." And I was like, thank you. It really helped. Like 20 years later, it
Yeah.
made me feel good. And that's why we're friends. Um, but also, you know, at that time when we're euthanizing his beloved animal, he doesn't have to think about my feelings. That's
No,
okay
not
to
at
not
all.
think about that. So that's what I
No.
told him. But I did appreciate him recognizing that, even
It's just
that
so
much
sweet
later.
that in a time where you're, a really difficult time for you, you're actually still thinking about somebody else. That says a lot
Yeah.
about him. I mean,
Yep.
that's just like how to be your favorite client. Just be a good person.
Yeah.
Be kind to the staff. That's the other thing. How many
Oh my
times over the
gosh.
years have we heard someone like dressing down our tech assistants, our room
Hmm.
techs, or our front office folks,
Hmm.
and then we step into the room and it's like, oh,
Oh,
hi,
hi.
Dr. Mike.
Yep.
And that it's just
Yeah.
treating our staff with respect because that's part of our team
Yep.
is such a huge thing. Just like you expect us to treat you and your animals with respect, that works both ways. So certainly,
Yeah. So if you're a client, remember that we hear everything. We absolutely know if you've been swearing at our staff or rude to our
hmm
staff at all. We absolutely hear it. So try to take a breath and be kind.
refer back to our Kindness Matters episode, which was
That's
one of
right.
my favorites.
That was so good. We're
Yeah.
the best.
Oh, you're too
uh,
kind, Mike. you're it's well,
uh,
let's talk about because one of the things being a vet for many years, and I know you have them too,
yeah.
um, cards and gifts and
Oh, yeah.
food and you know what do you recommend for your clients, like if you had to say how do you thank your vet, and how do you thank those teams, what are the best ways to
Mhm.
say thank you?
I get lots of cards, and I read every single one. I keep them
hmm
all, and I appreciate even just a card saying thank you. Um, I've even had in the last couple of weeks, even I had somebody say to me, Dr. Mike, it was at the end of of just a regular visit. They said, "We appreciate you so much, and we're thankful that we found you and that you're our vet, and we just want you to know that you really matter to us."
hmm
Just
wow.
simply saying that, and I was like, "Oh," like my heart melted, and I didn't,
Yeah.
it was a yearly physical exam, but just saying it, one, is a perfect way to do it.
hmm
Cards are great, but then of course we get a lot of donuts and
hmm
pastries and a lot of that. And I love donuts and pastries. Don't get me wrong. Ev- Please do not stop sending
yes.
donuts and pastries. I'm
Or
not saying
once in
that.
a while, some crudité, some fresh vegetables and
Yeah.
ranch
Oh
dip
yeah.
is
Yeah.
good too.
Yeah. Absolutely. I was gonna say edible arrangements are good. Those
Because
are
I'm
great.
I'm not going to walk by a box of donuts, and I'll be
Yeah.
appreciative
Yeah.
in the short term.
Yes.
Yeah. The other thing that I was never very good at, and probably should have been better at, was when
Mhm,
when you had those moments where clients actually took the time to thank you,
mhm.
which was very rare. There were a lot of people that were thankful, but
Yeah.
we never heard it. We never really knew. So when they took the time, just to say, if you could put what you just wrote into a Yelp review or a Google review for
Yeah.
our practice, that would be
Yeah.
really really helpful, because most of the time it's not just going to be a Dr. Mike was great. It's going to
Yeah.
be Ginger and Dr. Mike and the entire team was so warm and caring,
Mhm.
and so sharing that so other people can find us, and other like-minded clients can find us
Yeah.
and really build more of these
Mhm.
strong relationships, is is huge.
Yeah. If we get a really good 5-star review that has somebody named by name, our manager prints it out and puts it on our
hmm
desk or gives
Yeah,
it to the tech if they were mentioned by name. So if you do that, it'll get back to us and we really do appreciate it. Maybe even more than donuts.
yeah. Oh, we did the same. Any positive reviews would get posted on a little bulletin board,
Hmm.
and they'd usually put bright colors around it and like
Yeah.
congratulations, Dr. Wyman and Deja. So
Yeah.
I loved it.
That's awesome. Yeah.
Yep.
That's a pretty amazing one. And I've gotten lots of gifts over the years too, ranging from bow ties. I get a lot of bow ties, believe it or not. Um, and to nice bottles of, whiskey
Yep.
um, or gin. which I prefer, but that's okay. So just if you know if anybody out there is listening, send me gin. I love it, and you
For
can.
those clients who are listening in and actually sent me really expensive whiskey before,
Well,
please
I'm having it
please make
now,
that
so it's
subtle
good.
change. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm having it now, so it's really good. Um, if somebody sends you a nice gift as a thank you, do you send a thank you to that thank you?
Yeah, thank you for the nice gift. Or
Yeah.
I would mention it, maybe put something in the chart like, okay, there's work pending. So when I call him
Yeah.
back on Thursday, I will mention and
Oh, yeah,
acknowledge
yeah,
the
yeah.
gift, but I probably
Yeah.
wouldn't send a thank
Another
you.
thank you. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. But within reason, like I saved a an autoimmune mediated hemolytic anemia dog, right? So in
hmm
my ER many years ago, back um, in Issaquah, Washington, back when we saved
hmm
more of those than now. That's
Right.
become a very different disease. But anyway, it was touch and go with this animal, and we had a criticalist working there at the time, and it was a real team effort. We saved this animal, and this owner was so just touched, amazed by what we had all done, and so thankful. And she was a chef, and for years and years, probably for a decade after I left that practice, every
hmm
Christmas she would bring two full turkeys dressed with
What?
stuffing and tofurkey. She'd make a vegan gravy and vegan bird for those who were or vegan or vegetarian. And every
Right.
year she would bring like a chef quality meal because she said,
Wow.
I know you guys are working over Christmas and New Year's and how
hmm
busy those shifts are. And I remember I had told her, she was asking how my day was. So another favorite client, and I had said
Yep.
it's a rough day. It was a Christmas Eve. And so in addition to working on her animal, I think I had 8 or 9 euthanasias that day. It was just a
Oh
really
God.
rough day because
Yeah.
everyone like will wait till the kids get home from
Yeah.
college and then we'll all say goodbye to our beloved 17-and-a-half-year-old dog. They were all beautiful
Yeah.
euthanasias, but it was too much on a Christmas Eve to be working. And I
Yeah.
just remember telling her like it was
hmm
emotionally a tough day for me, and um, that was
Yeah.
enough for her to you know
Yeah.
to take care of our staff for a decade after.
That's amazing.
Hmm.
That's a pretty amazing gift. Like
Yeah.
that would be an incredible gift. So I think summing up in summation, it the thank yous are great. We love the thank yous. Yelp reviews are as good as food, and
Yep.
then I think everything else boils down to seeing us as human beings, respecting our time,
And
respecting
partners,
seeing us
partners in
as
your
people and
animal's
partners.
healthcare. Yep.
Yeah, I love that. It's great.
I
All right.
agree. And a thank you, a shout out to all of my favorite customers, clients over the years,
Yeah.
because boy, they when you think about the happy memories and all of the, so many of the time it's not just an animal; it's
Yeah.
that relationship we had with the clients too.
Yeah.
It makes what we do worthwhile. So just
Yeah.
being a good client, um,
Yeah. We love
that's
all
the
of
very best gift
yeah.
of all.
We love all of the pets almost.
It's
We
true.
really do. Even the cranky ones. But uh so my favorite clients though are not always my favorite pets.
Gotcha. All
So,
right. Well,
all
with
right.
that, Mike,
Let's
season
toast.
7 is back.
All right. And
Ripping.
let's toast to all those wonderful clients who see us as people.
Yes. To the
Cheers.
clients. Cheers.
Thanks for joining us for drinks and a conversation about veterinary medicine and our beloved animals. The Vets Unleashed podcast is wholly owned by the Vets Unleashed LLC with excellent production by Earweevil Audio. For more information about us, head over to thevetsunleashed.com. And as always, don't take advice from people who've been drinking.